are lovable. That is absolutely true.
I keep wondering how that we're meant to introduce ourselves, and then I realize that we're not doing that anymore because you have an introduction. You have an introduction that Nina spent hours making. So that's our new one. It reminds me of like a TV show, like The Nanny.
Yeah.
You know when the character, like we should have done a Bold and the Beautiful thing, like. We really should have done a Bold and the Beautiful thing.
Let's
and
do
I
that
love
for
where
like
it fades. And they come in from the angles, and it's just beautiful. It's very melodramatic.
And the shadow, and there's like a cloud in the background and blue sky.
Oh my gosh. Even like what's the TV show called? Everywhere you look,
Full
everywhere
House.
there's a heart. Full House. You know when that's the one where they go.
Yeah.
We should have done that too, Nina. We had so many opportunities.
We can do that for like
what Nina created is beautiful.
Thank you. We can do like a special episode one day and do that. And then Halloween. at the end, it'll be like, and if it's Halloween, this and this character went off to go to college and get married. Now she's number one, a lawyer in the country or something like that.
Yeah, she's lived her life exactly as she should.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you for being another valued member of society.
So productive.
You're miserable. I know. Imagine a Halloween one. If we did something scary, let's say our costumes were scary. I can just imagine, let's say I'm like the swamp monster. It's like the theme song of that Happy Joy from Full House plays, and then there's me going.
I like it though. I like that visual.
I like our creative brains.
Yeah.
Let your creativity flow.
Yeah. And at the end of like, if I'm like Michael Myers or something, or Freddy Krueger or something else, at the end of the episode, and she went on to kill 5 billion people.
And then there's her being like, and if you've got like the claws, that's a really big thumbs up. I did a real good job. Some self-gratification for your good job.
Thank you.
Let creativity flow, people. Let it flow. Yes. We've changed our podcast. And I wanted to say this too, as like a bit of advocacy for those that are wanting to start a podcast. I feel like you can maneuver and change it as many times as you like, in my opinion, because you're always in growth mode without even knowing it sometimes. And we've grown. It's been 3 years now, I think. Well, this will be the 3rd year when it gets to, when did we start? October? Yeah.
We're already in 3rd year, I believe.
I'm thinking about it. Jay, can you put the music in where it's like, we're just like thinking. Buzzer goes off. I don't know. The capital of Australia is New Zealand.
Yeah, that's what it is. Christchurch.
They speak the same. It's the same place. Yeah. So let your creativity flow. That's my guidance for today.
Yes.
We love it. We live it. We do it.
I will say, being on the podcast has helped me so much with kind of just like stretching what I thought was possible and creating new things and new visions. And you've been a massive help with that. So everybody give a round of applause for Ashley, because she is the visionary of the team. She sees it like that's so Raven. She looks into the future. She's like, I got it. And and it always works out every single time.
It's exactly like that.
It's exactly like that. I'm glad you're not arguing with me. What a change.
when I get up in the morning, right, when I rise from my depth of despair bed, right, I fully like, oh, and then I go, I've got it. And then I jump on my laptop and I just unveil my creativity and my senses.
Yeah. I love it. Speaking of creativity, we
We have
had.
the same mind.
Oh, we do?
Did you say speaking? Did you? I literally was like, speaking. You're like, speaking?
I didn't
When
hear
you
that.
watch this,
Wow.
you're going to say it. When you rewatch this, it's just two good minds that think alike.
Yes, we're the same brain. Speaking of creativity, though, we just got done. Well, I don't know what time it is or what time it aired for you, my friend, but we got done watching the Super Bowl and Mr. Bad Bunny performing. By the way, can I just say I love that artist name, Bad Bunny? Like that is so cute and so like tongue in cheek at the same time. But yeah, we had a fantastic. I woke up at 3 a.m. Slept like 2.5 or 3 hours. So if I look crazy, I try not to. But if I do, you just gotta have to deal with that. We wake for the bunny. We wake for Bad Bunny. Yeah.
That is going to be the slogan for this episode. We wake for Bad Bunny.
Yeah. We rise from
Started here
the
at
bed of
10:30.
despair.
Actually, technically, as you said to me, you didn't actually realize the alarm was for that. It just sort of went
Yeah.
off. And I can imagine her waking
Yeah.
up thinking, what's happening? Did an ancestor
Yeah.
set this alarm? Oh, did a ghost? Like, why am I getting up at 3?
Yeah. So it aired at 10 for you?
30. Yeah.
And how was it?
So it was
You
fine.
want to talk about it?
To be completely honest, I didn't watch it for the sport. I'm not a fan. I only watched it to give my support,
Yeah.
my utmost, non what's the word? Non explain explanation. Just my advocation for Bad Bunny. And so yeah, that's why I and my brother were watching it. He was kind of watching it for the sport as well, but once we watched the halftime, once it was finished, we switched it off. We're like, okay, we're done now.
You don't even need to see the end.
No, I wanted those numbers high. I wanted Turning Point to look at the numbers of who chimed in for Bad Bunny and to see those numbers so high that they shit their pants. Oh, sorry, I can't swear. We're under 10 minutes. So they crap their pants. Crappity crappies. Yeah.
That's actually really
So
smart. I like that. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, apparently, I can't confirm. I've only seen TikTok videos about it. 100 million people watched the halftime performance.
Nice.
So good on us. And I mean, look, it even took it worldwide. That's
Yeah.
because we all know, humanity and human when we see it. And we just know
Yes.
it because we're humans and we relate to
Yeah.
humanity because we're
Yeah.
humans with a mind,
Yeah.
brain, soul mostly. Yeah.
I love how much representation he brought to the
Mm.
performance and how much fun everybody had. And I was just telling this to Ash when we hopped on. It's like I saw some behind the scenes stuff and there were plant people there just like as plants
So
on the side of like
funny.
the little pink house that where everybody was at. And it was the
It
funniest
was
thing I've
funny.
seen in my entire life. Like I
There's
want that to
trees
be a
walking.
meme. Yeah.
Is that going to be our Halloween costume? Because honestly, it's the funniest shit. Because obviously, when it first started, I don't know about you, right? But obviously, they didn't show all of them, setting up. So when it first
Mhm.
started, I said to my brother, that's people. That's a costume with people under it. I guarantee it. And then we were kind of like, But I was dead set. That was 100% people. And I think that was the smartest creative idea. Instead of just doing like a fake plant, fake trees and stuff like that, to put people in costume. So it's a moving plant instead of a stagnant one. Just chef's kiss.
I love that. I was rewatching the performance bit where the green plants were and everything, and I was like, were they like dancing and swaying? But no, they were standing still. I would have never guessed. So the fact that you caught that is amazing. Look at you. I was like, Ashley is gonna love this.
Anyhow, just pure intuition at this point. Like, I also had this feeling that Cardi B was going to be there. I did think she would perform, but instead she was like, I had a feeling that Cardi B was going to be there as well. I just didn't know if she was performing or not. But in an interview, just the way that she was answering the questions and her facial expressions, I was like, oh, you're definitely going to be there. You are definitely going to be there. Either performing or just, I don't know, but she was there. And then we saw Mr. Pedro Pascal as well as Ricky Martin. Just,
Ricky Martin,
such a awesome vibe.
And Jessica
awesome
Alba
people together in one.
God,
Yes.
absolutely.
I had to double check behind the scenes if that was her because I thought so. I was like, that's Jessica Alba. But I was like, nah. Like, I didn't even know Pedro Pascal was there until my brother pointed it out. He's like, that's 100% him. And I'm like, no. And then it's funny because someone on TikTok posted a slow-mo and it's just him just like with his head up, with his sunglasses on, and he's just vibing.
Like, where's Waldo?
Like, game of Where's Wally at this point.
Yeah.
It was great.
I had no idea that anybody
like
else would be there. It did feel like community, and I had no idea that anybody else was going to be there except for Green Day, obviously. But yeah, I loved it. I thought it was great. I think the representation mattered. I loved seeing how everybody came together to convey the message that he did. And the fact, and this is something that I'm very impressed by with Bad Bunny, is the fact that he is holding the responsibility of who he is in this moment so well. You know, not a lot of people can handle that kind of pressure. And apparently in the Grammys, he was wearing a bulletproof suit. And so to think that it has to go that far for a halftime football performance, I don't. Anyway, I will
for
keep my peace. But
Puerto Rico is a part of America.
Yeah,
you guys are insane. To even say that it's not.
So, yeah. But yeah, I think the performance that he brought on was amazing. The community, the message, everything. He held his own very, very well, and I commend him for that. So,
100%. He was wearing a bulletproof vest apparently during his performance as well, and it's just like I can't even imagine. I can't even fathom being one human being and coping with massive projection that's rooted in such racism. That's really what it is. It's just racism over what? Over the fact that he doesn't speak English, that he is American. That makes no sense to a normal human brain.
Yeah.
It was such a good representation of community, and I honestly felt it more than anything. Everyone coming together. Like, it actually felt for the first time that people were united after so long of feeling and being exposed to such division caused by other human beings. So, and I think also this was a really good conversation for us to have, obviously, because, advocation, but also because the main topic of our conversation for this episode is about community. the one thing that has been said quite a fair bit, especially of late, with people missing community and wanting community and those
Mm.
conversations being online, I thought it'd be good to talk to Nina and say, hey, let's make an episode about this because we've got some thoughts and experiences and some knowledge to share with
Yeah.
all of that, as well as, I guess, what we see it truly as and what we've experienced it how we've experienced it personally.
Mm. Yes. Oh my gosh. It's such there's so many things that I can say right now, but I don't really know where to begin. No, I will say this. I will say this. Um, I think with the conversations that we're having online, my goal is to hopefully, and I hope everybody else's goal with this as well, is for it to not just be another talking piece, is that it can migrate online from online to offline and show up in the day to day the
Mm.
way that we need it to. Because a lot of people talk about community, but they don't have the I'm going to use the word emotional intelligence or the respect in order to be able to create it or hold it or be a part of it. And right now, what I see in society is a lot of sectors, like this group of people hanging out together, this group of people, this group of people, this group of people. And even there's infighting and disagreements. And listen, that's a part of life. But community in the way that we need it now more than ever needs to be not just within the people that, how did I say this, look like us, think like us, speak like us, represent what we like in the sense of this person looks like me, so I'll be friends with them. But if you are different in what I feel comfortable in, then we can't be friends. We can't be in community. Like it needs to be global. It needs to be connected. It needs to be intersectional and respectful of all parties and not just one demographic over the other. So yeah, that's kind of my starting out piece. But maybe Ash, let me ask you this. What
Ooh, interview.
do you think, what does community mean to you? Let me ask that.
Getting together and creating a cult and then building our own little house on land and
Mm-hmm.
having one man that calls himself God's secondhand man. And we all just pray to him and live around that. And yeah, we sing Kumbaya together, holding hands like in the Grinch at the end
Mm-hmm.
when they're singing. Yeah, that's what I mean. I know, I just had
Yeah.
to go into the way that I'm going to start with this is Mel Robbins posted an article last year saying life is too short to fight with your family. And I made a
Mm-hmm.
TikTok video talking about the reasons why the deconstruction and the illusions are breaking away when it comes to community and family. Because obviously, community is. It's not just, outside with strangers and creating. It's also family, it's friends, it's work colleagues, it's whatever, right? It's still just a bunch of people, human beings working together, being together, singing kumbaya together, having meals together, whatever you want to call it, and whatever soiree you want to have with it. But I said in that towards that article, with the statistics on family violence, the statistics of child abuse, and the fact that a lot of our trauma starts with the first experience of life. And who are
Mm-hmm.
our first experiences of life? Our family, our parents. So I wanted to make it known that I think it's easy to go back to the old ideals of family and community and hold on to it, as I was talking about in the video. Like, have a grip, a hold over it, because we don't see other ways on how to have community and family and recognize that the old ways are not working for a reason. It's really what I'm saying in the best way that I can. And that's what I said in the video too. Clearly, it's not, because there's no functioning when it comes to human, it's functioning of survival. And I've said that too, that I think community has been relying on survival, the survival of human beings to keep it alive. But yeah, we human beings, we were not meant to function in continuous spaces of survival where there's no human connection. It's just relied on that. And if there is some sense of human connection, it's morphed in some sort of agenda or control or dominance or just human projection. It fully survives on that. Someone's got to have a say on something in a really disrespectful way. Someone else is in someone else's business. There's narcissism. It's so unstable that we've tried to normalize that dynamic so we can feel better about the dysregulation of these environments.
Yeah.
So if we're trying to seek community, in my opinion, that means learning the new of what that is in a healthier way that holds the space for every human being that's a part of it, and not holding on to outdated, but also invalidating ways of saying we're a community, but we actually don't care about each other. We actually don't hold space for each other in a way that is considerate of each other. We're just holding spaces for ourselves. So it's about you. You're making it entirely about you while saying that you're holding a space for someone else. There's just so much I have to say about this topic. So for now, I'll park it there in such a great way. Like pro parker.
Yeah. Reverse parking. You slip right into the spot, perfectly aligned.
Honey, reverse parking is a different story. I can do it up a driveway where there's no cars near me, but if you make me do it where we're a full shopping center, cars everywhere,
Yeah.
yep, no. Don't know. Don't think so. I think the other cars will kiss my car. My car will be kissing their butts.
Well, I will say it is interesting to see how many people in the last, let's say, 3 to 5 months have come out with either episodes, podcast conversations, articles talking about how we need to learn to forgive our family when they've wronged us. And listen, I understand we all are able to comprehend there are great family dynamics, but for the sake of this conversation and the sake of the article that Ashley talks about, we're talking about unhealthy family dynamics. We're talking about family dynamics where we've seen the trends online being the eldest daughter, all of that, right? Where you're the one either responsible for healing, which you're not, by the way, or you're the one who has to draw boundaries, has to remove yourself. And thus, eventually, that leads, if the connection is unhealthy enough, to complete disconnect and going no contact. And I think with the amount of conversations that a lot of big named public persona people have brought about in the last few months is very concerning to me, to the point where I'm contemplating, is there an agenda behind this? And while you were talking, Ash, it had me thinking, with the state of the world and Mel Robbins being in the States and how the US right now is moving in a lot of different ways, and how a lot of people are commenting or want to push for an quote unquote old way of existing within the nuclear family, the family dynamics in general, and just letting abuse slide, letting manipulation slide, letting disrespect slide for the sake of the image of the family, for the persona. for the mask, as Ashley
You
stated.
deserve an
And
award for that shit.
yeah. And I want to speak about people who go no contact for a minute, because I think if you haven't gone through this before, it might be incredibly difficult to understand how a person gets to that. You know, you might have a family dynamic where you're like bickering and fighting, but in the end, we're all family. You know, this is what families do, and we come back together and we heal. That's great. But that's not always the reality for a lot of people. And I think
Mm.
what oftentimes gets dismissed with these kinds of articles and these kinds of conversations, well, they're your father, they're your mother, they're your so and so. You're also an individual there. It's not about the other person all the time. It's also about how you're being treated and the amount of pain that a human being has to go through to cut off contact with somebody who is part of their formative years, the very reason that they were born into onto planet Earth, is like it's beyond words to have to reach to that point for your own mental well-being, to be like, I can't do this anymore, I have to leave, I have to cut off contact, and how painful that is. um, I think it is incredibly heartbreaking and disturbing and disrespectful to make articles that are blanket statements of we need to learn how to forgive, when so much suffering has gone on under the guise of a mask, a family dynamic mask, a personal mask, um, and just sweeping things to the side and under the table. And it is, we are never going to heal unless we take accountability for our actions. And if we're in situations with with family members who can't, who refuse to, who after years and years and years, you've tried communicating, you've tried making things work, you've had to make yourself small for the sake of surviving within family dynamics. And for those people, real quick, just to interject this as well, well, why don't you just leave? Why, if you don't like it, why don't you just leave? Right now, there is a financial aspect with that and a global aspect in that that doesn't allow people to leave as easily as you would like them to, as easily as maybe they would like to. And so I think it is very important to show a little bit of respect there and understand that if you're around people who do not respect you, who do not see you as a human being, who do not treat you as such, who do not mind how they treat you and do not want to change and have the mindset of, well, this is who I am and I'm not changing, not for you, not for anybody, then you have every single right to walk away from that. And you have no right to judge somebody else for how they choose to save their mental, emotional, and physical well being, especially like Ashley said, when the number one abuses happen in a family dynamic. I mean, when a person dies and they're married, who is the first person that gets investigated? Which, by the way, is insane. Insane that it's always the husband getting investigated first. It is insane, or the wife, but mostly the husband. And so, yes, I will park my vehicle here adjacent to yours, and our bumpers will be kissing. But I want you to kind of continue and go forth, my friend, as well, with everything you want to discuss here, because this is a big conversation.
It's like passing the Olympic torch. Now I've got to run with it and try to keep the flame alight.
Yes.
You kept it alight so well. I don't blame Mel Robbins for her article personally, only because like I'm trying in some aspects to say things without guilt or shame, only because I think Mel Robbins went from the self-perception of family. And a lot of people, especially online, they think their experience is universal. And I'm here to
Mhm.
say that even though we are talking about community and family in a certain way, or friends, that doesn't mean that it is everyone's story, because it is not. There are people that have beautiful relationships with their parents, with their family, and that's how it should be. So you are the example, right? You are the example of something that should be a collective experience. It doesn't have to be the same, but healthy for the highest good of all those involved. Priority. So I don't blame her for putting this article out, but it is like for many people, she's just, it's another clone of another human being that is putting something else out there in the full perception of themselves without understanding that you have a universal experience beyond you that is happening and is horrible for many people. 1 in 5 adults here in Australia have experienced violence at the hands of family. And for me, that's such a big thing. It's a really big thing. And I think it's a big thing for a lot of people. So I can't sit here and say, yes, bring back family values when beating your children was such an advocated form of discipline and people still advocate for it. And all I say to people that do advocate for it, there's no shame or guilt that you do, but I do want to ask you, why is everything from the past the only way to do things? When people tell me to get over the past, why can't they get over the past? I just need to say that. Again, I'm not blaming, but I just had to add that in there because I find it funny when they tell survivors to get over the past. But discipline, and the only form of discipline, is something that was brought in from the past and it just needs to be completely eradicated. It's outdated. But even within that, just to add this in there, because I know people are going to have ideals on it. The way that parenting is, this is obviously different to the conversation, but I am going to add it in there. The way that parenting is, and I had this conversation with someone, I do not validate what is being allowed. I don't validate the inhumanity that's being allowed. I don't validate the way children are, the spaces that they're creating. But I do believe that people are still trying to figure out what healthy parenting looks like, right? There's honestly, you can read books and you can look at different articles and hear people speak about it, but truly, right, that is something that people have to search for. They have to even have the awareness of doing so. We are trying to evolve. So imagine it like a bridge. This might make it easier. Imagine it like a bridge, and you have the old world here. So all the traditional values and forgiveness and all the other stuff here. Then you have the bridge coming over to the side of discovering true healthy spaces and environments for human beings. People are on the bridge and some people go back. That's why I was saying Mel Robbins, her article reminded me of that. It's holding on to this space here because of the way things are now. Because things are crumbling, because things are deconstructing, people are going back to this out of fear, out of the loss of control, because human beings' survival is a big thing when it comes to control. Like, control is a really big thing. And it drives me crazy sometimes. It really does. It really drives me crazy. Yeah. So when people don't feel like they have somewhere to plant their feet, they will grip and grab onto anything that shows and looks like a means of groundedness, something that looks like they can plant their feet on there, right? But the thing about this, right, is that all of this falling apart, as people are calling it, like the family values are falling apart because this was never sustaining. Really, if it really was, would we have the mental health statistics that we have today? Would we have the level of suffering that we have today? Would we have people that absolutely have no emotional regulation and are completely relying on emotional instability to move through their life, making decisions in projection, relying on survival as the thing that's going to keep them in some position for the rest of their lives? This was not livable, in my opinion. Nothing about this was livable. I don't doubt that there are things from the past that we 100% can use in the present and for the future. I don't doubt it. Again, this experience is not universal, and I'm not saying that everything from the past is horrible, but I think a large majority of it is from an old space of learning. And see, we will, and I've said this so many times, we are a learning experience. We will forever be learning. So we need to evolve. Otherwise, we stay stagnant. And then we wonder why the system's crumbling, why people are collapsing, why people are finding it too difficult to do things, because we cannot sustain something that was never built to sustain us in the first place. I'm sorry, but I couldn't live a life like this any longer. I was not surviving off it. And I don't know if you agree too, my friend, but this shit here on this side of the bridge is just riddled in everything to do with survival, everything to do with compromising, everything to do with my favorite word, my favorite words that I use a lot. It's not my favorite as in like, oh my gosh, it's the best word, but it truly describes what human beings have wanted other human beings to do for a very long time. Just conform, especially in the family environment. Like, if you conform, you get the top dollar trophy of the family. You get up on the top shelf, honey. You're the favorite. And that is it's such an advocated space that people want people to be in. And that's what this space holds in so many ways. And you're seeing it today with the resistance towards gentle parenting and people saying gentle parenting is allowing children to do things. That's not what gentle parenting is. Gentle parenting is just not beating the crap out of little human beings that do not have an emotional capacity that meets adult. But even adults don't have a certain emotional capabilities. So I don't think we should be talking, honestly. Do we beat each other? Should we be doing that since you beat children? Just a question. But anyway, this here, this space here, just the bridge, this reminds me of just completely conforming to what settles other human beings, what other human beings rely on for them to feel safe, which is old values. People are afraid of change, just to add that into that too. So I also think that people are afraid to take the journey of taking the bridge and discovering life outside of the stuff they've been taught because they're afraid. As I said, when I said that expansion is so important, and if you've been watching our episodes for a while, you know I say this a lot. That's why Mel Robbins, that article is so suppressive to something that has so much to it that I even drive myself crazy with all the things going through my head of the experiences that I've been made aware of that I could be talking about. Because there is so much out there, so many experiences of just how fearful people are that they know that they're hurting you. They know they're projecting. They know what they're doing is wrong, but the fear speaks louder than their humanity, than responsibility and accountability, even if they have anything like that, though, because that is also something in this side too. The lack of accountability and responsibility, the lack of apologizing, the emotional barriers to even acknowledging what you do wrong. Conform, right? It didn't matter if a family member did anything wrong because their title, because as long as they had a title that was worthy of treating you such, that mattered more. And that has always been a real big problem to me. Using a title to justify means of abuse, using a title to justify means of, as I'm saying, inhumanity. When you're meant to be family, right? That is something that we are still dealing with in the present reality, is titles meaning more than a human being, than the presence of making sure this environment actually meets what you're trying to get this to meet. You want people to meet and have community, you want that, but the space doesn't even hold any sort of safety for any human being within that space because you give a title the power over everyone, that you give behavior entitlement over everything. I don't know how you think something could function when the means of what you're using to keep it functioning are totally against the human beings that you apparently love. How can you love someone but also validate the harm that is occurring in that space? You have to see this for what it is if you want community. You can say it, and people say it online all the time, and I'm not invalidating it. You are allowed to want it, but what are you going to do to hold the space for it? What are you prepared to do to hold a space for other human beings as well as yourself? Because if you're not prepared to understand what it takes and what it should take and what needs to change, in my opinion, and this is something I went through too, it's going to be a really hard thing for you to maintain. Parking the car. I'm actually doing a 3-point turn and then parking. Oh, what a pro.
You are a pro. Absolutely. I want to piggyback, I'll use that now. I want to piggyback off of something you said, that people go back to the old ways because they're afraid of the change. You reminded me of a quote. I had to look for it real quick that I wrote down a while ago. And it was, where there is trust, there is invariably going to be a higher result or a higher outcome. No greatness comes from fear. Oppression comes from fear. A diminished version of something comes from fear. But when there is an abundance of trust and hope, that's when we are inspired. But you have to trust. And I think that that is such a big leeway to a lot of different problems that I'm seeing in society right now. The apathy, the fear of the future, instead of coming together and be like, okay, let's figure out what's not working out right now and let's move towards a path. Let's figure something out that could help us more. It's more like either people are on this is just the way that it is. It's just the way that it is. It's how it's always been. This is how it's always going to be. Or it's, we must go back. These are the values that made us great. These are the things we must return to. And it's like, no, because of X, Y, and Z, everything that Ashley just said. Right. And I want to talk a little bit about that as well, in sense of why do we have so much fear for the future? What is it that we are so afraid of? And I'm thinking of something in particular right now that's coming up that I don't know if I should mention or not, because it is quite a controversial discussion. But I think, let's just say this, and I'll make it more general for the sake of the podcast, and being online and people coming and be like, no, in the comment section. If the past was so great, what is it that you have to fear in the future? If everything was so great and so perfect, and the way you treat people is so great and so perfect, and everything you do is so great and so perfect, and everything the way that it is right now is so great and so wonderful and so fantastic, what do you have to fear? Why are you holding on so tightly to control? If everything is going according to plan, exactly how it should be, why is there a reason to fear? And I think the answer lies in the truth. The fact that it's not working out, the fact that a lot of people are suffering when they don't need to be, that family dynamics aren't working out because there's a lack of accountability in the unhealthy ones. And I think this villainization of how could you walk away from your parents? How could you walk away from this family member? How could you decide to not invite them? Or, well, you should be nice, or you should buy presents for this person. It's like, nobody is obligated to hold your hand while you're being, for lack of a better word, an asshole. Nobody needs to endure that. And I think the olden ways, at least as far as I have experienced, whether it comes to work abuse, whether it comes to being bullied at school, whether it comes to being treated some kind of way in your friendship dynamics, whether it comes to being mishandled or disrespected in family dynamics, It is all so directly linked to each other. And the question is, if it was so great, why is it falling apart now? And why are you so afraid of the future? Because you don't need to be afraid if everything is going perfectly. There's no need for fear. If everything is so great, there's no need for fear. And yet it's in everybody. It's in every single interaction that I see. There's so much fear going around. And if there isn't fear, then fear is actively being instilled. And then you have people that are like making these articles. And I know you said you don't want to put any shame on Mel Robbins, and I don't either, but there is a responsibility in how you communicate and talk about certain things. And I'm not going to say everything will always be communicated perfectly, because that's not reality, but you cannot be making such blanket statements in such a big way, in such a very much seen way, that what was it, New York Times? I don't know where it was in. It was somewhere. And then expect everybody to be like, oh, okay, especially in the time that we're living in today and the subcontext of what is being discussed. Because with a world that is actively pushing to go towards the past, when we're right at the brink of something so much better, so much more awareness, so much more happiness, so much more freedom for all of us, so much more awareness of how our products are being made, who is being affected by the things that we're doing, who is being affected by politics, and how we're building community online and how that is being dismantled by AI bots, by censorship, et cetera, et cetera. And then you have the discussion of women need to make children. Women's rights are being taken away, of their autonomy of their body. And then you have the discussion of, well, you need to just forgive. You need to just forgive, and you need to be happy because that is your family, and that's just the way it is. The discussion that blood is thicker than water, that is not true. Blood is thicker than water, sure, but blood is water. Water is not blood, or else we'd all be cannibals. But it's the same thing. Your genetic disposition does not give you the right to treat people badly and make them stay, or make them have or you yourself having the expectation to stay, for them to stay. And so what I really want to talk about real quick is the courage in the people who choose to walk away, not just in family dynamics, but in every dynamic, whether it be in work, whether it be in friendships, whether it be romantic relationships, whether it be in familial relationships. The courage that it takes to give your love, to give your effort every single day, to feel like you're breaking down, you're trying to hold yourself and build yourself up while trying to show up for the other people, that where you never feel good enough, by the way. And to make the decision that I have had enough. I deserve more than this. That is such a brave and courageous thing to do, and a decision to make for yourself. And the people who have made it struggle afterwards as well. A lot of people have to seek therapy, which is great. A lot of people have to heal their nervous systems, which is great. But these are all things that wouldn't need to happen if it was as perfect as you're imagining it to be. And there's something that I wrote down a long while ago. I think it was sometime last year, that I wanted to read for you guys, because it intersects with everything that I'm saying right now. And then I'll hand it back to you, my friend. And that is, the hardest thing I've ever done personally is not losing people, opportunities, or experiencing, for lack of a better word, racism, misogyny, et cetera, et cetera. It's loving myself so much and having to let that version of me die when I've been in situations with people, in connection with people, relating to people in an unhealthy way, and having to let those versions of me die that accepted that, because I deserve more. And there is not just an ego death, but like, I would call it a death of the heart that happens there. When you find yourself in a situation where you have tried your absolute best for everybody that has been in your life, and you realize yourself that there are inherent things that you learned due to unhealthy connections in your formative years, aka with your parentals, that are unhealthy. and that have spread into all aspects of life now, because that's how you relate. And if you can't, if all you know is dysfunction, how can you ever realize it in the outside world? Being bullied by your coworkers or by your boss, being in unhealthy friendships, being not treated well by your partner in a romantic setting. These are all inherently connected, because the formative years is how we learn how to relate to another human being. And if that is not healthy, and if all you've ever grown up in is an unhealthy image of what love is supposed to be, what family is supposed to look like and feel like and be like, then you yourself cannot relate healthily to another human being. You yourself have to dismantle every single thing you learned and build something new. And that takes so much courage. And for a lot of people, that means having to walk away. For a lot of people, that means having to go to therapy. For a lot of people, that means a lot of different things. However, to go through that kind of pain, to go through that kind of disappointment and suffering, because it is a form of suffering, because we all need connections. We all need to be able to have a community, right? In order to be healthy. And to choose better for yourself gives me enough reason to believe that we can all do that for ourselves. It's not just one or two people that have the courage to do that. We all have that courage within ourselves, but it takes, like I said, accountability and looking at the people in your life and looking at yourself and what you're allowing. And when you realize, oh, this is not how I want to be treated, and learning how to listen to your inner voice and make that pathway to disconnect or to let go or to go no contact or whatever it is that you need to do to walk away from the unhealthy whatever. That is everything. And everybody has the capability of doing that. And we need to be able to be better, because how can we ever form community when we are blind and refuse to look at the injustices of our dynamics in the world?
You were talking about forgiveness. It was reminding me of, I've had conversations like this before in regards to the experiences, and then expect you to not have a response to them, to instantly work through this sense of forgiveness so they can avoid their own behavior. And that is manipulation. That is coercive control. It is controlling. It is purely for the person that did what they did. That's what it is to me. Even when you're talking about forgiveness to someone, are you talking about it for the reference of them, or are you referencing it for your own self? Because I notice when people say it online as well, it's very self-centered, right? I guess that's the point in one way, is that it's self-centered. And I know some people are going to come out and say, no, it's for you. It's for you to heal. It's for you to find groundedness and for you to be okay and for you to heal. But it's not exactly a version of healing when someone is allowed to do as they please. And that just continues on, and you're constantly being told to take the responsibility that they should be taking. It makes absolutely no sense at all. So I I think forgiveness has been used for an agenda of human beings to never reflect. And that is why it is saturated in something that people don't feel safe in. I don't feel safe in forgiveness, because forgiveness has always been, you need to take it and we can do whatever we please. And it's like, I don't think for a second wanting a connection with people, but if you can't have any sense of reflection for yourself, I'm telling, how does that work entirely? We don't get to walk through this human experience and do as we please to other people and then consistently expect them to hold our space while we continue to do as we please, and not in a good way either. I'm entirely meaning it in that way, not in a good way. There is no foundation that can hold when you keep cracking the surface and then expecting someone else to patch it up. And you keep cracking it even when they've patched it, because people please and they continuously forgive you, but you don't learn from the behavior that they're forgiving you for. You just keep expecting that. It's really unjust. I have so much annoyance towards the years of people insinuating that I need to forgive, especially when I was Christian, the entire facade of that honestly felt so silencing.
Mm.
It truly did. You feel consistently like a victim because there is no sense of justice on the other side. People just do what they like. And it's like, no, why am I being told to get over it? Why am I being told? Why am I consistently having to do the work of the person who should have done it in the first place? Why am I? Why are victims doing the work? That's something too that I've spoken about a lot in terms of forgiveness. I've made a few different videos talking about it. It's one of those things that is for an episode, I think. I
Mm.
honestly think this topic is for an episode. So I'm going to leave it be there and move on to something else. But just for something to think about is forgiveness. If you're not using it to grow the foundation that you care about, to grow the connections that you have, if you're not using it for the intent for yourself, but you're using it for other people to make sure that you're secure in your illusion of your own behavior, then you're not in the right space for community.
Mm.
There's nothing about that that screams community. It just screams you not facing you. Are you
Mm.
that afraid of your own reflection? Yes, we all have been. I think we all have. I have felt it. I've been afraid to face my own reflection. I have done things that I am not proud of. I have faced it. The shadow self. Oh my gosh, Nina and I have talked about it plenty of facing the parts of ourselves that have been really hard to even just like, I don't like that you exist.
Yeah.
But they were created through means of survival. That's why I say that this part here can't survive, because those parts of ourselves that were created in survival, what form of accountability and responsibility could they have had in a space where that is not advocated for? Accountability and responsibility was never advocated for because everyone's too busy trying to act like their behavior doesn't exist. Everyone is doing it. You have a community of everyone that's turning their heads and never looking at their own behavior, but expecting each other to forgive. And you wonder why it's crumbling.
Mm.
So I just had to. Do you have anything you'd like to say in that?
Yeah, I think, oh gosh, this is so deep. I hope it makes sense in turn of what you just said, but to me, this is directly linked. Um, you have to live your truth. And as long as you're buried under all the crap that other people have pushed upon you to be responsible over, you will never be able to do that. If you continue to take responsibility over the actions of those who have hurt you and them not changing, and you just continually trying to get better in terms of, well, maybe I can do this and maybe I can do that. And maybe if I avoid this and I don't talk about that and I don't do this, or I'm more quiet here, or I'm just I don't speak about this anymore. The more you stand in your own way as well in turn, because the more you get disconnected with yourself, the more you try to appease, and the more responsibility is being placed upon you to heal things that are not meant for you to heal, for things that you have never broken with your own hands. The more in misalignment, yeah, in misalignment you stand with yourself, because again you're taking on like Ashley said, the responsibility of another person, and you can never heal somebody else that is unwilling to face themselves. And the only way you can face yourself is by taking the chance and the very difficult step towards living your truth. So speaking up when something isn't correct. Which, by the way, if I may interject even with that, you do have to be careful, because I want to be conscious of the fact that, this is an episode we're talking right now, but I know a lot of different people are in very serious and scary circumstances within families, within romantic partners, within friendships, even at times. And so please make sure that you're safe first before you do anything else. And sometimes our safety is in being quiet. I understand that. But also try to separate yourself from the people that are dragging you down. That is the best way that I can say. Like, if our soul is a vine, we need to make sure that all this shit that's in the way can get out so it can reach the sunlight, so we can grow, so our soul can continue to evolve and we can be who we were always meant to be. But as long as we're stuffed with the filth of the world and the filth of other people and who they made us out to be, because sometimes if you're the person speaking out, you're the bad guy, or if you're the person who doesn't agree with something, you're the weirdo. It's just we got to get it out of the way. You don't deserve to live with the pain of somebody else's mistakes or refusal to fix their mistakes. You deserve more than that. You deserve, like Ashley said, real community. And that starts by asking yourself, what does a healthy relationship look like for you? What does that feel like? And how can I embody that as well somewhere along the process?
Changing the whole black sheep narrative. I think of it more like you are not the conformer. So instead of using it as you're a black sheep, you're just someone who doesn't want to perpetuate an illusion that others through your lineage have been perpetuating and participating in. And I'm not saying that in guilt and shame. I'm really not. I think generations have survived. I've been saying it this entire episode. Generations have survived on this stuff. And I know, trust and believe I know. But I also don't hold validation for how you're treated when you don't conform. When you are literally telling people, do you not understand that the reason why this is falling apart is because you're holding it by something that has been hurting everyone from the get-go, and everyone has just been responding to it through other means of survival, whether it's being manipulative and talking behind a family member's back, whether it's, pushing someone out of the circle because they're causing some kind of rift in the
comfortability,
comfort of all of that. There's nothing comforting about feeling, there's nothing comforting about feeling like you are never good enough for a space that is not good enough for any human being. It should never be advocated for because it is not good enough for every human being. I honestly, the hardest thing is seeing externally, is seeing how healthier these spaces can be and how they can thrive. Trust and believe. When I step as an observer, I can see where these spaces could thrive, especially in my own personal life. And I try not to tell people, but to show that. But I can't do anything else but that because some people don't want to hear it. And I'm not meeting that with shame and guilt, but in some way too, it's like, well, don't ask me to be present in your space if you're not willing to take accountability and responsibility for your behavior. I'm not going to force you to do it. I'm not going to control you to do it, but I'm not going to stay in a space that does not want to grow, that does not want to evolve, that does not want to hold a healthier version of our connection. If you're not willing to do it with me, then I am not willing to stay in a space where only I'm doing it. And it's hard to not be a conformer. And when you can see the destabilization, I've got the fucking word. When you can see the destabilization, I'm making up a word at this point. When you can see how unstable all of this is, but you can see how that it can be fixed, it can heal, it can be better when you can see that. But everyone else is so used to so loop through the same stuff that's been happening through the lineage, and they act like it's a normality and this is what we need to, like, it's the whole thing of they are who they are. This is what it is. It is not what it is. It's what you've been taught, and you don't feel comfortable or safe to question why it was taught that way. Simply, awareness can be terrifying for people. And for those people online that sit back and say, oh, why can't someone just know? I get it. Trust me, I'm in the same boat. Sometimes I sit back and I'm like, dude, I'm tired of having to explain this shit. It's right there for you. It's available to you. Take the fucking thing. Just take it. Sometimes I want to say that. Like, the information is right in front of your face. It is available to you now. But it's complicated. Not even just complicated. It's not a simple thing in a human experience that has never been simple. We simplify it ourselves in our own lives, in our own ways, right? In terms of groundedness and flowing. But human behavior has never been simple. Human psychology has never been simple. How people fear and, and what they fear is not simple. And people fear awareness. It doesn't feel safe. People fear going outside of what they've always done. And I've been saying that throughout this episode. But with that also comes the difficulty of being someone that says no more because I can't survive in this. And me, myself, I've literally said that so many freaking times. I can't survive in these spaces that hold on to the fear like it's life and then expect you to also revolve your life around this non-livable fear. I know myself, the amount of scrutiny and projection that I've copped throughout my life for deciding to move away from spaces, I don't blame some people. Truly, in where I'm at now, I saw people in a similar light. The ones that moved away from me, I also saw it in certain ways. And it had validation in other aspects because people didn't talk to you, but I also didn't talk to people either. So I can't be a hypocrite. I do understand in some ways, but also, if people gave me the space to talk and if they actually wanted to hear it, if they actually wanted to, I'm not expecting you to fully open your ears to something that you've never opened your ears to in the first place. But if you are willing to at least give a gap, right, we can talk about that. We can talk and we can move from there. We can learn. I'm not expecting you to know it. Just be open to it, even the smallest gap, and let's move from there. Let's let's do that. That's how our friendship evolved. We literally went from this being a little sus from each other, like, are you a scammer? No, are you a scammer? Like, we went from that space and we just built off it, and we have met our own resistances from our own experiences, but we've worked together because why the fudge not? We want a better connection. Nina and I wanted better and healthier and human. So we built upon that. We worked to understand what the hell that means. It's so possible, even through the difficulties of it. And there's been plenty of that. I can't speak for Nina, but I know for myself, it's been difficult to see this we've actually done a whole episode on it. So if you want to, what was it called again? What was the episode that we did? And we talked about our
I'm
friendship.
not
Do you remember
sure,
what it
but
was called?
I can link it. I can link it to this video for you guys if you want to watch it. Yeah.
We'll link it. We will link it. That explains also how we grew this dynamic and some of the stuff that happened in this dynamic. Not everything, but enough for an episode at least.
Yeah.
But it's that, right? It's the willingness to try, even when you're uncomfortable, you're scared, you have this internal fear of what could potentially happen to you. The protector is speaking, all this stuff is happening. We know, I know. But I would rather the alternative. I would rather a better, healthier relationship and friendship than to stay in ones just for survival, because staying in that takes so much more from you than what you think. And I literally have stepped away from so many spaces in the last 10 years because I was not surviving in these spaces. I was not coping in these spaces. And even recently, I had to have a conversation about no longer with myself, with no longer showing up out of obligation and habit and just because. of this person's title. And that is not good enough to me. I desire authentic connection, authentic human connections. It's not good enough anymore. It never was good enough. I don't want mediocre, minimal shit anymore. The bare minimum is where we should start at and then build off that. So, no, I don't want to step into spaces or be within community out of obligation. If I'm there because of the general foundation of what that holds, for the true human connections that holds. And hey, I'm willing to try and step into other spaces and see. And if it doesn't work out, that's fine. But showing up for obligation is costing us a lot more than what we think. Truly, it's costing us a lot. It's costing us the opportunity for a beautiful connection. There's nothing there. Like, what can grow from pure obligation? Truly, if you rock up to a space and you're not close with the person and you meet other people, there are so many circumstances with this. Yes, 100%. I can't speak for them all. The potential of what happens when you show up and you meet new friends and stuff. But I'm talking about the whole family value thing of, well, that's your uncle, that's your cousin, that's this, that's that, and the title meaning so much more than the connection. The material external shit meaning more than what is this connection? Do you know me? Do we talk? We don't have to get deep, but do we just have a solid human connection at least? Where we both feel safe, where we both can just be human and feel good in that, where we feel good. Mental health is the way it is. Suicidality is the way it is. Also because of this, because obligation is advocated a lot more than a general human connection. And Nina said it too, and I'm also saying it. Human beings need connection. So knowing that, right, the priority should be what are those connections like? How are they moving? How are they existing? Can they hold growth? Can they hold expansion? I'll park my car and relax my brakes.
I love it. You were just popping off. I love it so much. And I want to say this. You will grieve the lives you wanted with people when you have to let them go. You will grieve the versions of yourself. You will grieve a lot of things, but you can grieve the life you thought you had and also build something better at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's
yes.
When it comes to the fear aspect, I also want to just say this. It's not about necessarily what you're leaving behind, because I think sometimes we can get, I speak for myself, we can get so focused on, well, I've known this person for so long. We had so much here. And now I have to let it go. And can I really do that? Well, maybe. And then the maybe will make you dive back into waters that are not healthy for you, just because you're afraid of letting go of something if it's been long term. But the thing is, it's not always about what you're leaving behind. It's also about what you're growing into. And sometimes who you're growing into is more important than the things you need to leave behind. And like Ashley said, it's about the quality, not the quantity, and also conflict resolution and accountability and the willingness to want to know the other person. And that is what's lacking a lot. And I'm glad that we have a little special guest for the end of this episode.
This is sorry. I hope keep talking, my friend. I'll introduce him in a minute.
No, please introduce him. He's a star.
This is Pluto. I've got 3 dogs, and he's technically my brother's dog, but I just love dogs so much that I was like, I shall take the reins. But this is Pluto. He's a little baby. He's so cute.
Cutie pie. Little puppers.
What you were saying.
Speak, Pluto.
What you were saying, just yeah, Pluto, your turn. He's falling asleep, I think. What you were saying was just 100%. That's there's so many parts to this, but the grief doesn't have a look to it. But you essentially we've gone through it ourselves. Making these decisions is absolutely I've gone against it so many times. Like I felt it intuitively, but I resisted it because there's such a history there with people.
Mm.
There is a history, there's remembrance, there's memories that you created with them, and you have to
Mm.
move into a space that you've never moved into before. You've never made these decisions before. It's not like you're doing it on a precipice, you know? It's not easy. So yes, it's going to come with resistance. It's going to come with you having to hold yourself and grieve and allow yourself to feel.
Oh my
But you
gosh.
know,
Can I just say this real quick? The biggest way that you
mm,
know you're starting to come into alignment with yourself is when you allow yourself to feel the feelings that you have kept at bay this entire time, whether it be through keeping the people
yes,
or through losing the people, because you grieving, that is part of you getting in alignment with yourself. And right now, the
100.
most important, we hear this, right? But the most important person in your life is you, because if you are not okay, you cannot pour into somebody else's cup, and that is just a fact. And you cannot show up into
Yeah,
spaces, you cannot be who you are, you cannot do what you want to do if you are depleted and you are not okay. So please feel, listen to what the inner calling or inner soul or inner intuition, dialogue, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to connect it to, listen to what it's trying to tell you. It is not your enemy. Maybe it's trying to defend you and protect you, sure, but it's never your enemy. It's trying to show you something that is off. And sometimes that's in a healthy way, sometimes not. We can learn how to progress through that as well and learn how to listen to ourselves better and communicate with ourselves better. But
mm,
grieving is the first step always. And it's hard,
yeah,
but you will come through it and it will be worth it on the other side, even amidst the losses and the memories you've shared with people that you had to let go. If you can still love them, you can still hold on to the memories, but it doesn't mean that staying connected is not always the best way to move forward into your life. And it is, by the way, also something I want to say, you need to choose your life. I think a lot of people take life on, well, this is the way it is. Like Ashley said, no, it's not what it is. It's what you create it to be. You have a life. You have a beautiful, full life ahead of you that you can embrace and you can grow into. And yes, there might be resistance, there might be shit times and shit people and shit experiences and a really horrific time. Sure, but you're bigger than that. So, what are you going to
yeah,
do with your big, bold, beautiful life? And who are you going to decide to be? And what kind of relationships do you want to have? And what kind of people do you want in your corner? And how do you want to relate to them? And what is the feeling that you want to feel within those dynamics? And
exactly.
yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say.
The resistance will never leave you as well. And this is
Mm.
coming from experience. When you feel resistance towards being in someone's space, you will be reminded of it until you make that choice to no longer exist in that space. It it's interesting how when you start to trust yourself, it's interesting how it works in trying to let you know consistently that, hey, this isn't holding you and it's not able to hold you. Maybe not now. That's the thing too, is that sometimes people need reflection, but it's a timely thing. It could happen in the next 5, 10 years. You don't know. Human beings are so non-linear.
Yeah.
But I think trusting self, not in the self-centered sense that people put it towards, also means having to make decisions that feel beyond yourself and feel so unsafe. And the protector is going to want to draw you back in and say, well, you've always been like everyone else, and they've accepted you for it. But acceptance is not enough. You know, it has to be love in the
Mm.
true authenticity of that. It has to be something you're not fighting for your worth and value over. You shouldn't have to fight for anything. You should just be in that space as you, as who you are, and it is enough. You existing is enough. And if you are constantly having to tell people that you are enough, the consequence is on you. It's not on them, it's on you. You feel it. Coming from experience, you consistently feel it and you see, well, if you can see it, but you will feel the implications of it in your day-to-day reality. Because when new people come into your life, you're thinking of them exactly in the same space that you're existing in. You think they're going to meet you in the same way. Everyone starts to become a reflection of what you allow, the spaces that you live in. So it might look like people are running away and moving away when they don't want to deal with it, and people should just talk to family and everything. But the last thing I'm going to say, which is sort of what I've been saying throughout anyway, but I'm going to say it again. If things were, if alignment was in present reality, then the deconstruction wouldn't need to happen. We are not in alignment with community. We are not in alignment with family, nor friends yet. But I think we are. I think we will, sorry, I think we will get there. I think we are getting there. People are realizing. So I do see hope in the future. Don't you agree?
He's like, yes, I do. I just have to say, like listening to you speak while seeing him be asleep in his little eyes in your arms is the cutest thing.
He's such a baby. Let's zoom in on his face. Let's have that edit. But that is my last piece of support to you all. Truly, it's we have that safe space here for the transition of this life in choosing healthier spaces, not just with people, but with self as well. And we will continue to talk about that and to advocate for it as well and share our experiences. You're not alone, even though it feels like it. You're truly not alone. You're doing what's right for yourself, and that is what matters.
Yeah. And I love you. I love you all who are navigating this, maybe for the first time. Maybe you're in the midst of it. I don't know where you're at with the spectrum. But for those who are struggling, for those who are fighting through the grief right now and the intricacies of trying to become a better and healthier person, not just for yourself, but for everybody, for the world, for community, for future generations, for work environments, etc. My heart is with you because I know that it's not easy, but I love you. You are not alone in this. We are your family. And I do believe and I do continue to hope that we will continue to move in the right direction as we have been.
That brings us to the end of our discussion. So we send a lot of support out to you all. Thank you, Bad Bunny, for your fabulous performance, and keep advocating. And until the next episode, sweet dreams. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.